at this point in time, without looking into the future, but right now we're sitting here. It is now July of 2022, August of 2022. Is it the time to buy? Is it the time to sell in watches?
Well, it all depends what comes up and what you want. So if something comes up and you really want it, it's a great time to buy. But right now, because I've got nothing specifically on my radar, I'm stepping back a bit. I mean, there's some that I've got some interest in, but I'm not too keen to buy because I think things will get better for the buyer. So
Mhm.
I think things will get better, and it'll be interesting to see how dramatic things shift. But because I think that for some of those models, MSRP is no longer a good deal. And it's crazy that a month ago, if a two-tone date just showed up at at the dealer, you would rush in and pay MSRP plus HST. And I think that that is going to prove itself to be overpaying before too long, because you're already seeing some of those two-tone models start to come down to MSRP. So why would anyone pay MSRP from a grade dealer if you can get it readily at the AD? And then why would you pay it at the AD when the grade dealer will undercut the price? So I think that those models you're going to see come down. The models that were never very popular, Yachtmaster and Sea Dweller, you're going to see those come down. The precious metal, you would always count on a discount. Those are going to come down again. So it's just going to be a matter of when that first domino really falls, because the big players are working hard to maintain that facade. And it's amazing how effective they can be. You know, these were the same players that convinced people that the Zenith was a solid investment, and that the Laredo was a solid investment, and enough people fell for it.
I
So
think the Zenith is a great investment at 50% off the MSRP, and then I'm holding on to it all day long. Seriously.
yeah, it's a great watch, but
Yeah.
when it was starting to sell at a premium, just because it looked like a Daytona, whenever the price is that detached from the intrinsic value, you've got to step back. That's why I love Warren Buffett, because that's kind of his investment strategy is intrinsic value. If you ever had to liquidate a stock that you bought and take the product, could you at least make use of the product? So he invests in Coca-Cola because if they have to pay him out in Coca-Cola, at least he likes drinking Coke and he'll never be thirsty. So as opposed to Bitcoin, where's the intrinsic value? Where's the intrinsic value in a steel Daytona? So it's whenever you get that detached from intrinsic value, something's going to end poorly.
For me, there's two watches in mind, which I know were always readily available, and we kind of laugh about it because it seems like everybody's got one. Is number one a steel sub with the black dial, black bezel, the standard
Yeah,
sub,
timeless,
date,
iconic. Yeah.
date or no date doesn't
Mhm.
matter. I've seen so many of those subs all day long, and the poor two tone date just 36 with the Jubilee bracelet that everybody and his uncle has had at some point, and they're gonna keep making those until the end of time. And those are just when you come to the store and you can't find even a two-tone Datejust 36, you know it's a problem for
Yeah.
sure. And they will be back there readily. And I love the Datejust. I think it's a standard great watch. It does its job certainly, but paying it a premium, I was
Yeah.
shocked, and I think those days are done. I would most certainly agree with you. So, but so from a time to buy, if there's something you're eyeing now and there's not as much of a demand, or they're starting to drop the prices and you
Mhm.
want it, now's maybe a good time to jump on it. Or if you can hold
Yeah.
off, it doesn't look
Oh yeah.
like that it's going to be going back up anytime soon. Certainly, it's a question of when things
Mhm.
are rising, how soon in the rise do you pick it up? And then as it drops, but again,
Yeah.
there's no magic formula. I mean, you find the right one and it's new or it's resale with the box, no box, papers, etc.
Yeah.
You find it, you're gonna hold on to it. I think it's irrelevant whether you're gonna try. But funny, like people get greedy. They're like, 19.5, I won't go to 20, or I'll pay
Yeah.
9,200, I won't go to 9,400. Like we got so greedy with how we had our
Yeah.
specific numbers, and then all of a sudden they're doubling. Like, oh, I should have bought it at that price. Now I think it's from that end of it. But now for the person who's been holding on to that collection and saying, you know what, I was really looking for a big payoff. My advice to them is start looking at maybe liquidating. Maybe you missed the
Yeah.
boat by about a month or so or two, but the longer you're to hold on to it, I don't know, unless it's one of the high models. And even still, even those Grail Pateks and Grail APs, yeah, they're gonna go for a premium, but not as much of a premium as you think, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm really interested to see some of the other brands because Rolex was that tide that raised all boats, right? The rising tide, but and it made it so all watches all of a sudden were good investments, and so that's where the dealers and the traders were just enjoying an unprecedented point in watch selling because everything was no negotiation, and there were still great deals to be had, like the Breitlings and the Breguets. But moving forward, it'd be interesting to see those because that's where the really big deals are going to be had. I think even on the forum that Jacques Audroy, he's got an Aventurine dial one. His retail was 11,000. He's got it up for 5. I'm very tempted. It's 35 millimeter, but like those are the kind of deals that I'm looking out for now, just because like those are watches with reasonable intrinsic value. Aventurine dials, in-house made, enamel finish, precious metal. Like it's crazy to see some of these prices on some of these watches that are actually decent values. So those are the deals that I think that you're going to see a lot more of, just as these guys need to dump stock and they might not yet want to lower the price of their hot pieces because they're probably all in agreement that you're not going to lower the price of the Pepsi. So I'll have to dump some of this stuff here. You're not going to lower the price of the Daytona, so I'll just unload some of my other stuff to pay off the interest bill or to stay active and solvent. But it'll be interesting. Those I think you'll see go first, but I think there can only be a holdout for so long. And then when the smaller guys who aren't in on the cartel start dumping, then you're going to see a new consumer mindset and a new expectation of what price really is.
So like a steel ceramic Daytona, for example, that
Yeah,
when you go to purchase it, it's what 11, 12,000 retail.
I think it's about
Oh, it's 14. Okay,
14
so
is his
okay,
MSRP,
okay,
14
and
250 or something like that.
and for the longest time, we could have picked one up at around 25, 24, give or take.
Yeah,
At its peak, what was that, 50 or something stupid like
yeah,
that?
52 or something absolutely insane.
I could
So
see it going back. So it's funny because I could see it going back to the world of the 20s and being around the 25 mark, which is still almost double, but
mhm.
it's not the 50 that it was. The one that I never understood. I like the look of it. I just don't get it. Is the Aquanaut steel with the rubber strap.
Yeah,
Why am I going to be on a waiting list for 100 years for this watch? Like
yeah.
literally, what is the deal with it? I've seen them
And
in the wild. Your thoughts
and
on
it
them?
yeah. Well, that's where with the even the Nautilus,
Yep.
I left it in the showcase 3 separate times because it did nothing for me.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like it felt like it's worth on the wrist.
Right.
And the Aquanaut and the Nautilus, that was what Patek designed for an entry gateway into the brand so that you would discover the grand complications and the other pieces. So Patek intentionally, that was their base model, their entry level models that they thought would help introduce the brand. So it was never meant to be the most sought after piece. And this is the crazy part of the psychology and the social media and the social currency, where all of a sudden those pieces took on this greater meaning of status and access. That's the thing is the in order to be a luxury item, it has to be difficult to obtain. And before, the price alone is what made something difficult to obtain. But then when you've got people making $1 million overnight by selling a GIF of a monkey, then the price becomes irrelevant because now so many more people can afford to buy that. So then it becomes about the access. And so when price isn't the barrier, then there has to be some other way for it to be sought after and has to be more difficult to obtain. So the fact that they didn't make as many and it was harder to get now put this incredible value to it that makes it sell for much more than a platinum grand complication, which is mind blowing to me. But
If you also think about it, like for the average Joe out there, a typical Grail watch in steel is, let's say, at the 14, $15,000 mark retail. That's a lot of money for people. That's a heavy
yeah,
amount of money. That's something you're saving for months, if not years, till you finally obtain it. And on the resale market going for 50, I've always said at 50 grand, I'm gonna go buy a gold or platinum day date all day,
Yeah,
every day of the
yeah,
week. I'm not understanding this whatsoever until
yeah.
people
You're
woke up on those watches as well. Like how
yeah,
long when they had the day date 2 at the time before they went to the day
yeah.
date 40, you could have picked one up at a showcase any day of the week at any retailer. There was
Mhm,
never a question. Any color you wanted, any dial you wanted, never an issue
yeah,
whatsoever. And all of a
yeah,
sudden, people just woke up magically.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's the crazy part is you're in a different class of watch, but it's that access that makes it more valuable. So that's the conspicuous consumption. But and the irony is that that wasn't really a Rolex design. They didn't want it to be that way. So
But if
it
I tell
just
you
took
the
on a life of its own.
But if I had to tell you what I thought is like the best steal as far as from a retail point of view compared to other brands, it is
Yeah.
the President 36 or 40 based
Yeah.
on that bracelet, the clasp, the look, the feel of it. Like I think for a gold or platinum watch, it's actually very undervalued compared to what you could buy from other high-end watches.
Well, I think overall Rolex at retail is incredible for when you compare it to others in the class and the comparables. I think the retail prices are phenomenal because you look at the Submariner and at 10 and a bit, you're looking at 14 for the Gigi LaCoutre Polaris. You're looking at 16 for the Grand Seiko Diver. It's Planet Ocean is 88 or something like that, and it doesn't have the platinum press on the bezel or the white gold indices. So I think that the Rolex at retail is priced really well, and I think that the 36 millimeter, especially, I don't understand why they're so undervalued. Like when I picked up the platinum at 36, when you compare what it sells for compared to the 40, and the 40, the proportions aren't as nice. Like 40 is more of a sporty watch, and I think for a watch like that one, you wanted a bit more of a refined, understated, perfectly proportioned unit, and it's like half the price for like a tenth less platinum. But yeah, it was something about the bragging rights that transcended for most of the social consciousness.
I could tell you, I'm guilty of this as anyone else that when the 40s came out or the 41s, I'm like, let's take this 36, let's put it straight in the garbage now. I need the big watch. This is
Yeah,
the real size. And when a few years go by and you go to put like a nice date just 36 on, you're like, there's a reason why this was the size forever. Go
yeah,
put on a nice dress shirt with cuffs
yeah,
and put on a sport coat. The 36 is the sweet spot. I've come to really come back and appreciate it fully. If I had to
yeah,
pick, I told you, I think in the last episode, if I had to pick one watch that I had to collect, simply because I've had the most of them and I had a sweet spot for it, it's the Datejust 36, so that's just the most timeless classic watch for me, and I
yeah.
could wear those all day long.
And that's the thing is the 40, because I have the 40 in yellow gold, and for me it's a sports watch. And
Yes.
I've had that in every size because I started in 36,
Yep.
then I went up to the 42 when the big watch craze came out,
Yep. Yep.
and then the 42 was poorly proportioned. The Day Date 2,
I think it was
it's
41 actually. I'm
it was
pretty
a 40,
sure.
whatever, it
Yeah.
was poorly proportioned.
It was like
And then
chunky.
yeah,
Yeah, yes.
yeah, the thick bezel,
Yeah.
and then they brought the 40, which I thought was the Goldilocks and the just right. But no, but when you put on a shirt and a suit, it's too big, and it betrays the entire look. So 36 is that perfect, and the 36 you can still wear with rolled cuffs in a more casual setting.
Well, we already had, I think you gave me right of first refusal when that platinum day date starts, burning a hole in your watch collection there and you need to release it.
Yeah,
You know who to call.